Tripitaka. 3 texts on consciousness only. By Xian Sang. The 30 verses on consciousness only by Vasubandhu. The treatise in 20 verses, on consciousness only by Vasubandhu. Translated from the Chinese of Xian Sang Francis H. Cook. First printing, 1999 Nimada Center for Buddhist Translation and Research. Chapter 12. Nirvana. The first is that acquired through manifestation, that is, great. Nirvana. Although it is intrinsically pure by nature, nevertheless, it is made to be unmanifest as a result of the veiling of adventitious obstacles. When the real holy path arises, it eliminates those obstacles and therefore causes its characteristics to be manifested. This is called attaining nirvana, inasmuch as it is defined as true suchness divorced from obstacles. Its substance is therefore the pure realm of the Dharma.
The meaning of nirvana is distinguished in 4 ways. Nirvana that is intrinsically pure by nature, that is, the principle of true suchness as the characteristic of all dharmas. Though it has adventitious defilements, it is nevertheless intrinsically pure by nature, endowed with innumerable subtle and marvelous qualities, devoid of origination and extinction, tranquil like space, the same in all beings and common to all, neither the same as nor different from all dharmas, apart from all characteristics and discrimination, beyond the path of investigation and cut off from the path of names and words, realized only within by true saints, and essentially tranquil by nature, hence the name nirvana.
Nirvana with remaining support, that is, true suchness free from the obstacle of the passions. Even though the support for subtle suffering has not ended, still, the obstacle has been eternally stilled, hence it is called nirvana. Nirvana without remainder, that is, true suchness freed of the suffering of samsara. The passions having been exhausted, the remaining support is also destroyed and the mass of suffering is eternally stilled, therefore it is called nirvana. Nirvana with no fixed abode, i.e., true suchness freed from the obstacle to that which is to be known. It is always assisted by great compassion and great discernment, and as a consequence one does not dwell in samsara or nirvana. Benefiting and gladdening beings is eternal. One functions in the world, due to compassion, but is eternally quiescent, therefore it is called nirvana.
All beings possess the first, nirvana. Post-learners of the 2 vehicles may possess the first 3. Only our world-honored one may be said to have all 4. How can the Sagata, i.e., the Buddha, have remaining support? Although he has no real support, he seems to have it. Alternately, the support of suffering having been exhausted, he can be said to be without support. Support remains but not the support of suffering, so he may be said to have the support. Therefore the world-honored one may be said to have the 4 forms of nirvana. If disciples, etc., have nirvana without remaining support, why are there sources, such as the Srimaladavi Sitra, that say that they do not have it? Some sources may say that they lack nirvana totally. Can it be that they also do not have nirvana without remaining support?
Indeed, while body and knowing, i.e., mind, exist in disciples, etc., they still retain the obstacle to that which is to be known, and since the support of suffering, i.e., the body, is not exhausted, the sense of perfect quiescence remains obscure, so it is said that they do not have nirvana. It does not mean that they are devoid of the reality that is nirvana with remainder that is revealed by the termination of the obstacle of the passions. At that time, they still have not realized the perfect quiescence without remainder and are therefore also said to be without nirvana, without remaining support. It does not mean that later, when body and knowing have ceased, they will not have an end to the support of suffering and nirvana without remainder. Or when, the above sources, say that adherents of the 2 vehicles are devoid of nirvana, they are referring to nirvana, with no fixed abode, not the other 3 nirvanas.
Also, when it is said, by the above sources, that those members of the 2 vehicles do not have nirvana without remaining support, they are referring to those of the 2 vehicles with indeterminate natures. When they have just realized nirvana with remainder, they resolutely turn their thoughts to seeking supreme enlightenment. Through the power of samadhi and vows, they retain their bodies and remain, in samsara, for a long time, unlike one type who enters nirvana without remaining support. That is, there exist those of the two vehicles who have a profound delight in perfect quiescence, who acquire the contemplation of the emptiness of beings and immediately realize true suchness, eternally destroy the obstacle of the passions that induce birth utterly, and immediately realize nirvana with remaining support based on truth. Because the passions that can induce birth are exhausted, there is no basis for subsequent birth as retribution.
In the state where the present support of suffering is destroyed spontaneously, other conditioned dharmas lack a support and are suddenly rejected simultaneously with the support of suffering. This reveals the nirvana without remainder based on truth. Even though at that time the bodies and knowing of, adherence of, the two vehicles do not exist, as a result of that, previous, realization, that, nirvana without remainder, can be said to exist. In this state, there is only pure true suchness divorced from characteristics, calm, tranquil, and blissful. Based on this, it is said that they are no different from Buddhas, but they still are lacking in bodhi and the activity of benefiting and gladdening others, and therefore we reply that they differ from Buddhas.
Since the various obstacles to that which is to be known do not induce birth, how does one acquire non-abiding nirvana? By eliminating it. It is able to veil the true suchness of the emptiness of dharmas, preventing the birth of great compassion and discernment and the benefiting and gladdening of sentient beings forever. Therefore, when it is eliminated, the principle of the emptiness of dharmas is revealed, and this principle is non-abiding nirvana, because it prevents one from abiding in both extremes of nirvana and samsara. If the obstacle to that which is to be known also obstructs nirvana, why does one not obtain cessation resulting from discrimination by eliminating it? Because cessation resulting from discrimination is separation from bonds, and that obstacle does not bind one.
That being so, how does one acquire nirvana by eliminating that obstacle? Not all forms of nirvana are included in cessation resulting from discrimination. Otherwise, nirvana, that is pure by nature, would not be nirvana. When that which can bind sentient beings to samsara is eliminated, one is said to acquire cessation resulting from discrimination that is unconditioned. The various obstacles to that which is to be known do not induce samskara and are not like the passions that can bind sentient beings. Therefore, one does not obtain cessation resulting from discrimination when the obstacle is eliminated. However, because of its elimination, the principle of the emptiness of dharmas is revealed. The characteristic of this principle being tranquility, it is said to be nirvana, not that this nirvana is of the nature of cessation resulting from discrimination. Therefore, of the four kinds of unconditioned perfect tranquility, the first and last are true suchness, while the middle two are categorized as cessation resulting from discrimination.
If one acquired cessation resulting from discrimination only by eliminating the bonds, in which of the four are the two of imperturbability, etc., included? They are included in cessation not resulting from discrimination, because they are said to be temporary separation from bonds, and because cessation resulting from discrimination that is unconditioned is exclusively total cessation, and there is cessation not resulting from discrimination that is not eternal cessation.
Alternately, nirvana with no fixed abode is included in cessation resulting from discrimination, because it is acquired with the cessation of the obstacles through the power of true discrimination. Cessation resulting from discrimination is of two kinds: that which is acquired by cessation of bonds, that is, that obtained by eliminating the passions that induced birth, that which is acquired by the cessation of obstacles, that is, that which is realized when one eliminates remaining obstacles. Therefore, of the various forms of perfect tranquility that are unconditioned, the first is true suchness and the last three are cessation resulting from discrimination. The two of imperturbability, etc., when temporarily ending bonds, by subduing them, are categorized as cessation not resulting from discrimination. When they totally destroy the bonds, they are categorized as cessation resulting from discrimination.
Since the obstacle to that which is to be known also obstructs nirvana, why is it only said that it is an obstacle to bodhi? It is said that the obstacle of the passions only obstructs nirvana. Is it not also able to be an obstacle to bodhi? You must understand that the holy teachings say this on the basis of the principle of the dominant function of the two obstacles. Really, both are capable of obstructing both results, i.e., nirvana and bodhi. In this way, of the four forms of nirvana that were discussed, only the last three kinds are called acquired through manifestation.